welcome to Mona Tutorials. In this session we're going to be looking at creating a couple of elevators. Let's begin. So first I've created a couple of objects in a Blender. Of course you could use any 3D program you like. Basically these are very quick. So we have a lift, just a pillar which I'm going to copy in Unity, and just a platform to go up to. So I'm going to quickly set up a elevator. Okay, so we have a couple of elevators. We're going to do two different systems. So this one, when you get on it, it will go up, and as soon as you get off, it will go back to its default position. And with this one, we're going to have it so when you get on, it goes up, and you can leave, and it will stay where it is. And as soon as you go back into it, it will go down, or vice versa. So in this case, we're going to use a couple of different techniques. Once again, we're going to use a one keyframe system. Just to save on time and animation process. So let's have a look. I'm going to create an elevator, an animation on the lift itself. Everything else is static, so that probably works out the best. So let's create some animations. So with naming, I'm going to name these a little bit better. I'm just going to name them elevator static and elevator reset for each type. So let's start with the elevator reset. So we need an animator and animation. So once again, create animations. Now I have some ones from the doors, so I'm going to keep them there because I'd probably release this file eventually. I might as well just do the animation now. So once again, control, snap, snap. Create new clip. And we have our animation there. Now reset down is the default. Make transition. Make transition. Once again, if you need more details on how to set all this up, check out the Reactor Basics and Door tutorial I made previously. So in this case, we need a Boolean. So we're just going to do true. So let's just say up. Keep it simple. We're going to turn that off. I'm going to do up to true, up to false. Let's put a little bit of time on the elevator as well. Therefore, we have set up the animation. So got that. The fact that it's that way is a bit of an interesting one, but we'll see how we go. Could be because of this. Let's see if it works. All right. So next up, we need reactor object. So reactor static. Drag in the Mona Reactor. Go up. Set the object to this one. So we want up, Boolean to be true when we go into the collider. And I can copy this information to paste it, and then just make this false. So it is possible to copy information between these if you want to. If you make a new one, it will copy the previous one. So if you can see that. So that's quite useful as well. So go down, set elevator static, parameter up to false. Next up, we need a collider, so it knows what it's looking for. Show the gizmos. Now, in this case, we actually need this on the object. Otherwise, it will not go with the elevator. So when it goes up and the collider is down here, it will trigger because it thinks that you've left the elevator, which is not what we want. So we actually need this in here. Now I'm going to put it a bit smaller so we can make sure that the avatar is on the elevator before it starts moving. And we put it on the wrong one. So make sure your collider is on the correct one. So this is a good example of what might happen if you've set the position incorrectly. So say, for example, we have 0, 0, 0. The static is also at 0, 0, but we've moved the collider up there. So make sure you set the collider on the right animation. If I go to reset up, you will see that there. So if it's in the wrong position, make sure to set it to the default state so that it is correct. Okay, so that's basically that made, I believe. So go up, go down, and box collider. Let's do a quick test. Okay, go in, go out, go in, go out. So that doesn't work. Let's find out why. Now delete this so to make sure it updates each time. I usually go through the process of how Reactor works. So check the collider, to Reactor, to the object with the animator, and then the parameters within that. If there's any issues, then they will usually come up when you're sort of making that linear progression of how Reactor works. In this case, I found that there was a wrong object type, which I brought up earlier before. Elevator static. So this is the problem here. Basically, it is the wrong animator, or the wrong object with no animator on it. So that's why it's not going to be working there. So make sure that you set it to the right object and the right parameter in the object. Let's try again. So the next thing we need to do is actually make sure that the reset has a collider on it, like so. Now, I think because you fall through, this moves up, and then you fall out of the box, and that's why it resets. So once again, let's try it. There we go. And then as soon as we go off, it will go down. I also need to put another collider on this object. So that's some of the common issues that you will find with the process. I completely did that on purpose to show you that it's very easy to forget simple things. Usually I will do things 100% and never have any problems. If only that were true. So let's quickly put a collider on this object. So that's accurate there. So that's a simple elevator. Let's go for a little bit more complicated. This time I'm going to do what I should have done last time, which is put a box collider straight away. So that will automatically work. Once again, there's no animator here, so we can sort of do that. I'm going to create one now. So I've got that. Might as well put this in now as well. Left control, snap, add a new clip. Up. Excellent. Right, on said static, we're going to create an empty, which we're going to name the reactor. Reactor static. Drag drop thing. So this time we're just going to do on enter trigger. So every time that we go into, and I haven't covered these before, but this time I'm going to use invert. So these are very, very useful. If you need to, you can use addition, so plus whatever value to the parameter in Animator, you can subtract the value, you can multiply the value or divide the value, or you can invert the value. So in this case, if it was, say, a 2, it would be -2. But what we're going to do is invert a Boolean from true to false. So let's put the static object in there. We are going to call this up. And then we're just going to put true. Now, the value on an invert Boolean can be true or false. It doesn't actually take this into consideration, but it does have to have something. So if you leave this blank, it will not work. So make sure to put, might as well get in the practice of doing it right. So basically, this will have every time I enter the trigger, switch the condition to the opposite direction. So we're going to add the collider, edit the collider. Now gizmos are that is very big for some reason. Why is that? So this one's at 100 for some reason. I think the scale... Yeah, the scale... I didn't reset the object shapes in Blender, so that is a bit of a problem. I do recommend making sure that you, for example, if I wanted to do this again, Control A, all transforms, lock that in, and then save that out again. So let's do that. So I want to show you what happens if I do that. Models, elevator, lift. Selected, export. Now this might break everything. No, seems okay. Which is, once again, a little strange. So in this case, the box collider is very big. So if this is like at 100, which is incorrect, but I can still work with that. So this would be 0.01. 0.01, 0.01, F. And we have the correct size. So sometimes scales will be off. There are ways around that in Unity. There are ways around to fix that in Blender as well. So keep that in mind. Once again, I'm making it a little bit smaller, so let's check. So that's down. Static up. So that seems correct. Not too sure why the purple is there, but could have something to do with some of these settings here. We'll find out when we test it. So the reactor has been set. The animator has not, however. So click on this object, static down, static up, transition, transition, exit. Oops. That to be about 1 second. No parameters. So let's put one in. I think we called it up. Up to true. Up to false. Longer period of time. So that should be the elevator, basically. So let's do a quick test. There's no better way to find out if it works or not by just testing it. Okay, so as you can see, we have our space, we have our elevators. So if we go on this one, it goes up, and as soon as we walk out, it goes down. So once again, we got up, as soon as we go, so that's really good for reset state, so people at the bottom can always get to the top. The second one, we have when you walk in, it goes up to the top, and then when you walk in again, it will transition using the invert statement to convert that to the other direction. So that's our 2 elevators as an example, using set and invert. There are, of course, more complicated elevators, but these are the simple ones that use 1 frame. So I'll look into a more complicated elevator in the future. Hopefully that helps everyone. Thanks for watching, and happy building.